It's the most terrifying movie I've ever seen, featuring a camera that feels even more real than reality itself. This lost masterpiece was abruptly shut down just a day after its release. The director and the entire crew disappeared, and no copies were left behind. Over the past 20 years, specialists and fans, including Handsome, have tried to locate the actor, but they've been unsuccessful. Handsome is on a quest to find the original film, which was created by a woman who is now regarded as a witch. To uncover the soul snatcher, Handsome reached out to the director's daughter, who is also perceived as a witch. Handsome assisted her in returning to a normal life, and in exchange, she agreed to help him search for the movie, although there's no guarantee of success. Her father passed away 10 years ago, and finding the film remains uncertain. A few gas station marshals heard the boss say that the director was a madman for transporting large quantities of blood from the slaughterhouse for the sake of realism, and that one of them was a fart. But he thought of a way out, and that was to go it alone. He knew that the director of the movie Soul Snatchers had shown it to them and had scared a villager to death. The more he listened to it, the more excited he became, and maybe he could really find the movie. However, unbeknownst to him, the nightmare of a few people was about to begin, and before they got to the location it was dark, and they were looking for a place to rest, but Handsome found his girlfriend sleeping quietly in her arms, holding her best friend, and with that practiced gesture, a fool would guess that the two of them were not on the same page, but Handsome didn't care. And advised Meat not to be alarmed. Then the two exchanged pleasantries, visiting Meat's past and discussing Handsome's dreams, and by the time they were done, they were nibbling. However, Handsome suddenly realized that there was a sound in the bushes next to him, and followed the direction of the sound as he went along. When Xiao Shui opened his eyes, 4 people have been kidnapped up. It was the few loggers. Xiao Shui thought the other party is just trying to make money. Just give them money, perhaps the problem will be solved. But he was thinking too simply. But he was too simplistic. This time the other party not only wanted money but also sex, and even worse, the other party mocked them for being stupid. Who still likes horror movies nowadays? Small movies are the most favorite, especially this kind of countryside. Beautiful women being forced to demolish the film said that they would be shot on the spot. The bald man was instantly killed. The hat man was also shocked silly, suspecting that it was a monster, and not only the speed is so fast, even the pistol cannot be hit. He did not see the opponent. The hat man is split by a sword. The man was hit by a sword. The man was hit by a sword. Before he could see what was happening to him, the man in the hat was hacked to death. Even when he was shot in the face with a shotgun, he was able to kill the last man without a scratch. When Meat Loaf tried to defend himself with his gun, he was grabbed by the hand, thinking that his neck would be broken. But when Wawa Face heard about my brother, he calmed down. Maybe it was because of my brother. Wawa Face let Meat loose but turned around and tried to kill the others. Meat Low wanted to stop him, but he was no match for Wawa Face, but he thought of a way out, that is, to kill him alone. The 3 of them managed to save themselves, but they encountered a problem. Handsome insisted he couldn't leave Meat behind, yet secretly, he wished to keep following him. Initially, his girlfriends opposed the idea, feeling uneasy about it. Eventually, Handsome pursued him, and to be cautious, she contacted the police. However, she was unable to provide them with any directions. She's on their trail. Not only did we fail to locate Handsome, but now Dollface is watching us. You're hiding once more, unsure of what to do. Even worse, you suddenly remember the cell phone ringtone that might reveal her location. To avoid capture, the girlfriend had to do her best to flee, though she doubted her ability to succeed. Meanwhile, Handsome followed the clues to a room, and his first impression was that something seemed off. As anticipated, the room was filled with peculiar items. In the room, there was a poster hanging, which was the movie that Handsome was looking for. Stranger still, one room was filled with films of Handsome and Meat in intimate photos, while in another room there was a naked girl tied to the bed. The two of them don't dare to stay too long, but just want to get out of here as soon as possible, but they forget that the girlfriend has found her way here to avoid being chased. He thought he could get help from the owner of the house, but he realized that it's a dead man, and the girlfriend is scared to death. He doesn't know what to do. Right at that moment, Handsome and the two of them happen to show up, and the girlfriend, as if she's grabbing onto the straw of salvation, urges her to get out of here as fast as possible. But unfortunately, it's already late, and the face of the doll suddenly appears, and she pushes them out at Handsome, beating her up in a mad rage that leaves her defenseless. She was unable to fight back. In the face of such a scene, the girlfriend runs away in terror, while Meat is strangely surprised. In order to avoid being caught by the wave face, the girlfriend hides under the car and waits until she is far away before she comes out, but she is still almost discovered. Wait! She ran out but was nearly caught. In her panic, she hid in a wooden hut and realized its horror only after calming down. It was filled with human corpses, some dried up like bacon, others still bleeding. Terrified, she hid to avoid capture. Strangely, when the waifu arrived, she searched everywhere but couldn't find her. Unforgettably, after they left, the girl emerged from the bucket of blood, hoping to escape her fate. The man died shortly before the movie's sadistic sequence was completed. When Handsome woke up and found himself tied up, there was a room full of plastic film in front of him, and before he could understand, someone revealed the answer to him, and that person was Meat's father. He heard that Handsome had been studying his own movie, so he came up with the idea of sanctioning it, and even told him a lot of secrets, but it turned out to be a trap, so it was a setup. Ever since the movie was dropped, Meat's father had hidden away and continued to film his soul snatchers, in order to make it more realistic, and to make every abuse more real. For example, the first time he found a doll face, he didn't know how to play the role of a child, so his father could only do a demonstration, but he never realized that the so-called demonstration was a close-up. In order to maintain the quality of the movie, his father had to act as a director and a killer, so he had the idea of giving birth to a child by a young woman who was just a few years old, and then he developed a child, who was a child face. And in order to get the actors, the fathers let Meatloaf have the children. To find the actor's father, he used fatteners as dancers to lure the men for the movie's torture scene before they died. Meat's father, who was also there to scare Handsome, was mainly interested in being killed, but they didn't know it, and Meat's father, who was getting more and more alarmed by what he was saying, wanted Handsome to be there to see the filming, but Meat had already started the filming, which annoyed his father, because he didn't approve of Meat being all sadistic and not knowing the rhythm of the filming. "Dad, what the heck are you doing? We're making a film, and you and I don't know how to catch the real scene," and he told Meat to get out of here. He told Meatloaf to get out of the way and called for the faces of the children to get ready for the shoot. The father's action caused a rift between the two. Meatloaf found the actors, but left them out of the process and was teased that he didn't know how to shoot, and that he couldn't even do basic actions. Meatloaf couldn't stand the teasing, but the father was even more wrong for not only turning the children into monsters, but also for seeking the so-called medical treatment. Meatloaf's words infuriated his father and brought a bullet to his head, but the tragic scene was not to be missed. But it breaks the hearts of the Wawa faces. He is ugly, not a fool. Looking at his dead mother, he seems to have made up his mind to put on the mask again and then throw himself on his father and raise the knife to take revenge. But the bastard in front of him is after all his real father. For a while, he is quiet and doesn't raise his hand, while Handsome is getting off the leash and learning how to tear off his father by the flesh and holding a camera to supervise the Wawa faces. When Wawa face finished with his father, he turned around and jumped on Handsome. At the critical moment, her girlfriend appears in time and saves little Handsome. When Wawa face collapses, the two of them show their smiles as if they have survived, but in the next moment, her girlfriend is knocked away by a shovel. Handsome was taken to a movie theater. Here, Meat prepared a new version of Soul Snatcher for her, because she made Meat realize his potential, not only in acting, but also in filming, and even learned how to edit later. And the fact that Handsome was trying so hard to watch the movie just to see Capture the Soul made Meat even more excited. The movie is even more touching to the flesh. Unfortunately, after watching Capture the Soul, Handsome not only went crazy, but also bled to death from the struggle. A few months later, his girlfriend's belly grows bigger and her baby will be nurtured by Meat to become the next pair of doll faces.